Viewers sometimes ask us to film from guitarist perspective. In other words, where you place the camera in such a way that it appears to be looking down at your own hands while you're playing as though you are the player. This is a little tricky though, because you have to contort out of the way to get the camera in a realistic location. Or you compromise and you put the camera a little bit off center, but then the resulting images don't really look like guitar player perspective, and in fact they look just a little bit uncanny valley, like I don't really recognize it. Well, it turns out there might be a better way. Here at the IFP Media Center in Brooklyn, we work with all kinds of cool little companies, one of which is Evolving Technologies, run by Lauren Abdulizer. Lauren creates software tools for 3D stereoscopic virtual reality video. And he pointed out recently that Perception Neuron, a cool company that makes motion capture rigs for video games and movies, is running a contest where they are giving away a handful of these rigs if you submit a compelling pitch video. So without wasting any time at all, Lauren and I whipped up a quick pitch video, and this is what it looks like. I'm Troy Grady, creator of Cracking the Code, where we study elite guitar players and their often fascinating and subconscious hand movements. As part of this, we've pioneered a way of filming the right hand that uses a close-up, slow-motion view of picking movements. We've been fortunate enough to uncover playing techniques that elite players use that they're not aware of. These are things that average players can then utilize to play these so-called unplayable or impossible passages.
I'm Lauren Abdulizer, CEO of Evolving Technologies Corporation. What we do and specialize in is facilitating that whole process of VR content creation. We've been designing some tools for the new approach towards how you capture motion data integrated with scanned images, sound, lighting, so that you can recreate a scene very effectively. This is particularly challenging.
To perform this type of analysis and actually capture live motion capture data on some of the world's greatest players, and then turn that into a three-dimensional representation of that player. Applications for this from a teaching perspective alone are really pretty staggering. Imagine being able to take that viewpoint and place yourself inside the body of the actual player and to look down from the perspective of world-class players like Yngwie Malmsteen or Michelangelo Beatty or Eddie Van Halen would be a pretty incredible thing.
Take the case of musical performances. We're experimenting with optical tracking, but it doesn't seem to fit the bill. You have occlusion of data. If the hands are curled up, you're playing a guitar, you're not going to see everything. You have missing data points, and it's just too much work to kind of like, okay, let's go through and edit the sequence and do it. You want to capture it properly.
We've had the opportunity to take some really extraordinary players and examine them in clinical settings. We took John Taylor, the last individual to hold the world's fastest guitar player record from Guinness, down to the University of North Carolina, and they rigged him up with a wireless EMG system that was about $1,000 a channel. Even in very high-end setups like this, you have the dots blinking on and off as they get occluded by the fairly complicated rotational hand movements that guitar players make.
There's another aspect to it, and that is shiny objects. Anytime you have a musical instrument, be it flute, whatever, that introduces noise into the data stream. And the two combined together are toxic when you want to try and do high-quality motion capture.
In conversations with Lauren about the Perception Neuron gear, it's really quite exciting to imagine that some of these challenges that even very expensive, large-scale systems encounter, we could sidestep those, and that, more importantly, is non-obtrusive to the player, where the underside of the palm that makes contact with the guitar is not encumbered by wires or other gear. That's really important because there are some very fine motor, tactile sensations that happen for the player. And to be able to do this all in a rig the size of a briefcase gets us very excited.
The thing that is really most interesting to us about Perception Neuron is that you can capture information down to the individual fingers, and that's where you lose it on the optical side. We can marry that with also the electronic information. We're getting all the notes in time, and there will still be challenges, but we can bring it to a level we think that would be practical. Think of it from a pedagogical standpoint, or you can now look at and replay a motion capture scene, looking down, looking from a different angle, slowing it, taking any perspective, being able to have that combined with the audio. Those things would make a major difference.
If we can get our hands on one of these awesome Perception Neuron rigs, Lauren and I will do some amazing stuff in bringing this technology not just to a practical application, but actually putting it in the hands of guitar players everywhere.